Hello everybody, welcome to Short Shot Archery. Anthony here, and today I'm going to show you how to adjust the limb alignment on your Galaxy Crescent riser. Now I'm going to be using the Galaxy Crescent riser with the Galaxy Bronze Star limbs. I made my own string for this, and I'm going to be doing this strung because it's easier to illustrate with the camera. My recommendation though would be to de-string the bow and make these adjustments if you have to. And the reason behind that is that I found that if you try to make these adjustments with the limbs under tension, you can cut into or really damage the clear coat on the dovetail of the limb, because the limb bolt is sitting on top of that dovetail and you're rotating it, so it's cutting into that bottom part of the limb. It is only the clear coat and it's not going to severely damage the limb, but for cosmetic purposes you probably want to de-string the bow. I'm going to be doing it strung because it's going to be much easier to show you how it changes with the bow strung, because you can actually see it happen. So here's what you need to adjust the limb alignment of your bow. You're going to need, of course, the bow. You need a set of limbs, the Galaxy Crescent riser, a string. You're going to need a set of Allen keys. You're going to need the limb alignment adjustment tool. You're also going to want a set of biter blocks and a stringer. A few additional things that may come in handy: a tall table or a desk or a chair, something that doesn't let your bottom limb touch the ground. That way it doesn't get affected by any outside elements besides the alignment of the limbs and the riser. Also, as a note, if you do have a stabilizer handy that is flat or will allow your bow to sit on a desk or a table easily, I would go in and attach that. You may have to weight the end with a heavy book or something to keep it from falling backwards. It all depends, but for me, this setup here will work great. It sits nice and securely on this table, and from there we can go about adjusting this riser. So for this riser, I have already unaligned it. When I got this riser in and I put the limbs into it and strung it for the first time, everything was aligned spot on. So for a majority of the owners of the Galaxy Crescent riser, you probably don't need to make any kind of limb alignment adjustments. But if you do, of course I'm going to be showing you how. So I already changed the limb alignment on this riser so that it is clearly off. And that way, through this video, you can actually see me change it as I adjust the limb alignment with the limb alignment wrench. So the first thing you need to do is de-string your bow if it's not already de-strung. For me, I'm leaving mine strung so I can show you guys how it's done, and it's just so much easier to explain it this way. Another note that I want to point out is this little piece of leather I have here under my limb bolt and on top of the limb. Now, from moving the limb bolt, you can scratch your limb. I'm trying not to damage these limbs. I like them, and I want to keep them functioning and more so looking brand new. So I put this here. You do not have to do this as long as you adjust your bow de-strung and then just restring it every time to recheck the limb alignment. It's a little bit more work, but I think the payoff is better and you'll get a better understanding of what you need to do to align the bow. For this video though, I'm kind of just taking a shortcut in order to make it easier for you, the viewer, to understand and see what's going on with it. So I just wanted to point that out before we get started so there's no confusion. Next up, you want to break out your biter blocks and place them on your limb. I would say around the center of the limb. They don't have to be perfect. One goes on top and the other one goes on the bottom limb. And from there, we're going to check out the alignment of the string to the blocks to the riser and see how that aligns up. And then from there, we can make our adjustments. I already know what we need to change, but hopefully I can show you how off it is. So as you saw in that clip, our bottom limb is perfectly in line with the biter block, but as we move up the riser and the rest of the bow, as we get to this top limb, you can see that it is clearly off. It is not, the string is not sitting in between those two black lines right here. So what we need to do is to make an adjustment on this bow. Now, what you want to do is you want to break out your Allen key and loosen the set screw in the back of the riser. Now this set screw holds in the limb bolt in the front that's holding your limb onto your bow. With that loosened, you can go and take your tool here, your limb adjustment tool, and you can stick that into the two holes on top of the limb bolt, and you can carefully turn the limb bolt. And as you can see, hopefully I'm not moving this too much, it should move back into place. The string should now be sitting much closer to the center of the biter blocks, as long as I did not move the bow too far out of the view of the camera, that is. So from the other side, what I was doing to move that string back to the correct position where it's aligned with the bottom part of the bow, so both limbs are aligned, all I was doing was putting this tool in here and moving the limb bolt, left or right, depending on which direction your string is off on your biter blocks. Alright, so that was a really easy adjustment of this riser to these limbs. Now, for those of you at home, it's going to be basically as easy as I showed. Of course, you're going to be doing with the bow de-strung. You're going to have the bow de-strung, loosen that back limb bolt here, use your tool to adjust from the front the positioning of the limb bolt so that you can move the string of that limb left or right so that it matches the center line of your biter blocks. And after you make an adjustment, what you want to do is tighten that set screw again, restring the bow, put your biter blocks on, look to see if it's moved in the correct direction, because sometimes you might go the wrong way and it might move left when you really want it to go right. You would then just do the opposite and it would move back that way. But you would make an adjustment, restring the bow, check it. If it's off, de-string the bow, and then just proceed to loosen the set screw in the back and then do another adjustment to the limb bolt in order to slowly correct your limb alignment. Now every once in a while though, you probably should check your limb alignment just in case something did move on your riser or something shifted or just really got worn in after you using it for a while. But other than that, it's really easy to adjust this bow and to make sure that your limbs are straight. And I think it's pretty fantastic that they decided to put this on a riser that is so affordable. So that wraps up this video on the Galaxy Crescent riser and making adjustments to straighten out your limb alignment. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this helps some people out. I do really like how they have this designed on this riser, and hopefully I can share some more with you on this bow later on. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy shooting!